The dragon, though seeing her courage and constancy, and though feeling the force of the divine assistance, knew nothing of the hidden wisdom and prudence of our sovereign queen. Nevertheless, he persisted in his pride and besieged the city of God in diverse ways and several kinds of warfare. The astute enemy during this warfare often changed his engines of war, but his machinery was like the sting of a weak hornet against a diamond or adamantine wall. Our princess was that strong woman on whom the heart of her husband confidently relied, without the least anxiety lest his desires should be frustrated in her. Her adornments were fortitude, which filled her with beauty, and her vestments were purity and charity, which served her as a helmet. The unclean and proud serpent could not look upon this creature without being blinded anew in the fury of his confusion. Therefore, he resolved to take away her life, and the horde of malignant spirits began to exert their utmost powers towards this end. In this attempt, they spent some time, but with just as little success. The knowledge of this hidden mystery caused in me great wonder, especially when I considered the extremes to which the fury of Lucifer was allowed to proceed against the most holy Mary in her tender years, and when I beheld the hidden and vigilant defense and protection of the Most High. I saw how attentive the Lord was toward his chosen and only one among creatures, and I saw at the same time all hell lashed into fury against her, and exerting against her in fullest indignation such a wrath as had never till then been exerted against any other creature. And I saw the facility with which God neutralizes the infernal power and astuteness. O more than unhappy Lucifer, how much greater is thy pride and arrogance than thy strength. Very weak and helpless art thou in spite of thy high-flown pretensions. Begin to confide less in thyself, and expect no such great triumphs. For a tender child crushes thy head and sends thee back conquered in all things and altogether vanquished. Acknowledge now that thou canst do and knowest but little, since thou wast even ignorant of the sacrament of the King. Acknowledge that his power has humiliated thee by the instrument thou hadst despised, by a feeble woman, by a child in its natural weakness. Oh, how evident would thy ignorance also become in regard to men, if they would avail themselves of the protection of the Most High, and of the example, the imitation, and the intercession of that victorious and triumphant mistress of angels and men. During these varying temptations and combats, the fervent prayers of Most Holy Mary never ceased, and she spoke to the Lord, Now, O my Most High God, while I am in tribulation, be with me, now that I call to thee with my whole heart and seek thy justifications. Let my prayers come to thy ears. Now that I suffer such violence, wilt thou answer for me? Thou, my Lord and Father, be my strength and my refuge, and because of thy holy name thou wilt deliver me from danger. Thou wilt lead me the sure way and nourish me as thy daughter. She repeated also many mysteries of the Holy Scriptures, especially passages from the Psalms, to invoke his aid against the invisible enemies. With these invincible arms, losing not an atom of interior peace, equanimity, and resignation, but rather confirming herself more therein, she raised her spirit on high, battled with, resisted, and conquered Satan to the inexpressible delight of the Lord, and for her greater merit. After the Most Holy Virgin had successfully fought these secret temptations and battles, the serpent instituted a new conflict by means of creatures. For this purpose, he secretly kindled the sparks of envy and emulation against the Most Holy Mary in the hearts of her maiden companions of the temple. This contagion was much the harder to counteract, as it arose from the punctuality with which our heavenly princess distinguished herself in the practice of all virtues, growing in wisdom and grace before God and man. For where the prodding of ambition is, the very light of virtue darkens and blinds the judgment, and at last enkindles the flames of envy. The dragon, through his secret suggestions, persuaded these simple maidens that the light of this sun, most holy Mary, would obscure them and cause them to be little noticed, that on her account their own negligences were more clearly apparent to the priests and their teacher, and that Mary alone was preferred in the estimation and judgment of all.